Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my first pre-recorded live stream, which really is a non-live stream. I'm currently away on the weekend on a family gathering. Family is important, so you understand, guys, but you guys are important enough to me that I decided to do this pre-recorded stream because I'm unable to be here live. And so unfortunately, there's no live chat or anything like that. But last week's chat went so well that I barely had time to read any of your comments out. So it's fortuitous now that I'm able to read out the comments I wasn't able to read last time. And since I can't actually do this live, here you go. Perfect opportunity to do it for you. And you'll have some sort of quasi stream to watch today. So hope you're well. Well, it feels like I'm doing a stream. It is the morning, and I'm actually recording this Wednesday morning. About 4 mornings before. And I'm assuming the morning's going to be exactly the same as the Sunday morning that you're probably watching this, or it's probably Saturday night for most of you guys in the US. So, as always, let me read some of the more notable comments under my more recent videos. Under my video, my response to Tiffany, Tom MCF responded, "Men scalp their enemies, women scalp their friends." Yeah, it's just kind of alluding to the way women tend to have very catty relationships compared to men. Again, not all, but the majority of what you see out there. Raikou Wisdom, under my video, "This frustrates me." He says, "You cannot define a thing as it is without also defining what it is not." This is true, although a lot of guys online, a lot of people in general, are defining their worlds apophatically, knowing where they stand in terms of what they don't like. And it's a very negative stance. There's no leaning towards something. There's no going down your own path. It's sitting still and saying, no, no, mistrust, push away, hold out to a distance, that kind of thing. So it's all negative. No, no, no. But there's no constructive. There's no toward anything. There's no cooperative. There's no what's the right thing to do. We're all very smart and conveniently lazy in sitting there saying, no, I know what I don't like. That's bad. You're bad. I'm good. I sit here inert. I don't have to show how good I am, but you're bad and that's bad. And that is how I know myself. It's really weird. He continues, "One of the issues with the drive towards inclusivity as a virtue is that defining anything in the negative, not being something, is seen as a vice. You see examples of this in certain modern-day fantasy settings, kitchen sink settings, where everything from angels to halflings to satyrs is included, rather than one rigidly defined setting with a clear line of what is and isn't possible. Cities in such settings all start to look and feel the same. Yeah, we've all become homogenized because they all have everything you can imagine in it. So nothing separates them from each other. Every city starts to look the same. That's why most people like to go to Japan. It's one of the last first world big cities that's stubbornly remaining, keeping their culture, remaining a monoculture. And it's nice to go somewhere that's different. It's nice to learn from something that's not an echo chamber of your own world and your own city. Blah, blah, blah. Because they all have everything you can imagine in it. So nothing separates them from each other. On a personal level, people aren't allowed to be themselves because to be who they are is to exclude what they are not. That's a very interesting point. He continues, there's likely other effects. Social media pressures and dopamine framing come to mind, but the overall result in the short version remains valid. The grey blob who is everything, who likes everything, and is okay with everything, and they're all on the same page with what is not okay, appear to be pushed as an ideal, and that leads to people becoming as samey as the media on offer, or at least pretending to be. For my part, a lot of what you say is repetition from literature that's had a big impact on my life, but your channel gave it a spoken voice. It gave the message a human touch appropriately enough. Yep. Thanks for that really well thought out comment, Raikou Wisdom. Raising Dragon under the same video commented, I agree with you. Most RP and MGTOW see women as their mortal enemy, or just grey them out or use them simply based on their sex. For me, this is no way to spend my time. It is the individual in front of me that counts. Yes, I've been saying this. All that matters is the clarity of, this is in front of me. This thing now speaking. And if it's speaking like everyone else, if it's repeating the same words, and it's kind of, if it's a ghost of everyone else, then why bother? It needs to be there, present, them. He continues, if we reduce our counterparts to cardboard cutouts with 99% predetermined external and internal features, we externally reduce ourselves just in the same way. Yes, we do. The observer becomes the observed, in other terms. Cardboards impotently trying to interact with one another. Yep. Everybody has their own story, and a good effort to interact takes this into account within the social norms, of course. Nicely said, Raising Dragon. Steve S. says, I'm older now and dated enough to know all women are not the same. I quit dating 6 years ago and began listening to men's self-help online. What I quickly learned was that all women essentially want men who can provide and protect, whether they realize it or not. They simply sense that as a masculine trait and are drawn to it. That's based on my observation and from reading a few studies. My only real WTF moment came about 10 years ago when I went out on a casual at the bar date with a woman I'd previously seen and got to know a little. At this local's restaurant bar, I put the bill between us, pulled out my wallet and asked for a 50-50 split if that was okay, though she did have more wine. She was appalled, even though neither of us had issued a formal invitation. As I recall, we did split the bill. I later asked what the problem was. After all, we were both middle class, professionals, though she earned more than me, and she said she was embarrassed. Isn't it interesting the words women use? Instead of saying, you should be embarrassed, I'm offended that you made me pay. She says she's embarrassed to make you feel bad. You should feel embarrassed too because you made her feel that way. She's not embarrassed. She says she was embarrassed. I didn't know if she'd been asleep the previous 20 years or was extremely manipulative. I would say the latter. She's being manipulative, but unconsciously so. Women's biology is very shrewd that way. After dating her for a while longer, I determined it was the latter and split with her. Yep. Good for you. Ed Anders, under my video, this frustrates me. He said, I have an observation. You are a deep analytical thinker. Most people, 95%, are not. So you will continue to be frustrated and disappointed by many people's behavior. They simply do not think and reflect about life that much. They do not question themselves, others, or life. They do not explore ideas. They lack the curiosity. They are go-along types. People who just run the program. This is the overwhelming majority of people. This is the norm by far. The people who are deep thinkers like yourself are a rarity. They are the tiny minority. I'm not stroking your ego, and I'm not stroking my own when I say I am like this too. It is no fun. No, it's no fun. You end up being alone. Look, it's true that even when you say, when you get older, you become more specific. I've said this before. Your friend circle gets narrower and narrower. You become more specific. You become more alone. Even if you have one or two good friends, like, the world shrinks. And if you're analytical, if you're philosophical, it's demonstrably so. He continues, the people who are deep thinkers like yourself are a rarity. They are a tiny minority. I'm not stroking your ego, blah, 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 blah. It's no fun. Sure, being a deep and analytical thinker has some perks, i.e. it makes life more interesting, experiences richer, frees you from programming, helps you appreciate and understand dimensions of life that others have no idea about, and increases your awareness. Yes, beautifully said. He continues, but it has a ton of downsides too. This frustration is one of them. To be a deep or analytical or philosophically minded person is in a sea of people who sort of just roll with the program, go with meme level understanding of reality, execute the standard script. This is dispiriting. It's discouraging, it's disappointing. It leaves you, or me anyhow, feeling apart, alone, and sad at times. Yeah, it does. It sucks because you try to engage people in deep and meaningful conversation. Yeah, especially what it means to be a human being. Come out of your shell. There's no need to be afraid. Let's talk about the imperfections and fragility of what it is to be a person. Like, what an open and liberating conversation that would be if more people could do it. Where is it? It sucks. Because you try to engage people in a deep and meaningful conversation, you get back sound bites, cheap dismissals, without any attempt to actually understand what you're saying. I know this. The number who will actually understand and be able to engage with your level of thought. I'm not saying this is equivalent to IQ, by the way. It's more a matter of orientation in life. I agree. It's not whether you're smart, you get along with smart people. I've spoken to much, much smarter people than I online. Academic and both just general IQ people, much, much smarter than me. And I just can't get along with them. And I've talked to kind of other much smarter people than me that I can get along with. It's about temperament, yeah, too. And as you say, orientation of life. A way of being in the world. It's a tiny minority. Most, 95% of people or so, will not care, will stay in their bubble, will not extend any effort to understand what you say, much less reflect on it and question themselves or their worldview. They will emit simplistic one-liners, knee-jerk cognitions. They get defensive very quickly. This is just the way most people are. It's unfortunate. It's disappointing and discouraging. I try to just accept that this is the reality, though, rather than expect something of people that they cannot give and have no interest in giving. That is, engagement in deep thought, meaningful conversation, analysis, reflection. I appreciate your work, though. It's nice to see guys with intellectual substance on here. I've been around the male space online for 4 years or so, and I've had my own run-ins with the mob. The mob, yeah. I've tried to suggest there is more to female nature than what is said. I've questioned the applicability of Briefold's law. I've pointed out how immature it is to continue to point the finger at women without taking responsibility ourselves. I've questioned the dogma that emotions are feminine, etc. I always get the same sort of response as you do. Knee-jerk dismissals, one-liners, overlearned meme-level cognition. That's a good way of putting it, overlearned. A recitation of the party line without any attempt to reflect on what I've said or actually engaged in. I typically just give up because it takes too much time and energy to work through all of these defenses and misunderstandings, and the rewards just aren't there. That's actually a very important point. It takes too much time and energy to work through people's defenses, and for what? You are trying to give them much more than they're stubbornly just resisting you. There's nothing for you. It's like being in an awful relationship with a woman. You can give, 150%, and they're defensively barely giving you 5. And he finishes, I found it hard to find like-minded people, so I'm glad you're plugging away, putting out thoughtful content. Thanks. Thank you for that, Sean C. That was a really, sorry, Ed Anders. Sean C's the next comment. Thanks, Ed. That was a great comment. You're a person cut from my own cloth. I hope you stick around in the comments and communicate and comment more on videos. People like you are, I'm really proud of people like you in the comments. We've amassed a whole bunch of really thoughtful commenters. I mean, my channel. But in terms of I really love a lot of you guys who are really reflecting, giving your experiences and really thoughtful reflections on your experience. And you're finding like-minded people saying, yeah, me too, but I observed this. And we're playing tennis with experiences, and people are starting to see it's not just me. And there's a person that's saying it like an older version of me, maybe, or a version of me that's had slightly a different experiences than me. And now I can actually put a better framework around what I went through because this person is speaking my language. All this stuff is great. So thanks a lot for that, Ed. Where are we? Still recording. We're nearly 19 minutes in. Sean C. Now it's your turn, Sean. Under the video 6 qualities to look for in a woman, among others. He said, 1 quality to look for in a woman. She adds value in my life that is measurable. No spiritual, new age, real love, TM bull crap. And it's convincing for me. Not parroting things like married men live longer or real men step up, etc. Or her degrees or her experiences in sowing her oats elsewhere. That is tuned to me specifically. That is no BS like experienced in pleasuring some other guy or knowledge of cooking lasagna. I don't even like it. Without having to replace my existing tool set. I already have people working for me who perform far better for specific tasks that I have in mind than random women trying to jump on my ship. That's a good way of putting it. If you live a life where you've designed it with a high degree of precision and just some woman tries to sort of jump on your ship as a stowaway but wants to sort of be second in charge, you have to be very, very aware of that sort of stuff. He continues, that leads to something categorically unique that no other man can have from any woman. Her V card doesn't suffice. Chad's and Tyrone's got far more V card than I'd ever have. So even if her V card may not yet be claimed, it's not categorically unique enough. Yeah. I suppose it could be or basically is. There's no other choice. Men and women, I think, are starting to require the other person to have something now more than their biology. Maybe the generations that come ahead, people have to will have to provide more substance now than just biology and a personality that you can tolerate to have a family with or commit to. So there's a positive thing to that. So whether women will like it or not, because they've burnt the bridges with men, now they have to woman up in the future and provide something more than their V card. And it should be that way. We should both, relationships only work when you're compatible, but that compatibility necessitates now, it demands who you are, what can you offer that is compatible with me. Not what's between your legs or the money you can make as a guy. So both men and women, any random on the street can pretty much do that. They come with that. A guy's got the ability to work or he's got a job. Most guys do. A woman's got that ability downstairs. Now the quality, that's the other thing. Now people have to step up with quality and it's got to be specific. And because men and women are very skeptical of each other anymore, they're not accommodating. This is the plus side I suppose, if that's the silver lining for all the crap that people of my generation and recent ones have gone through, it's that now there needs to be some sort of compatible, specific substance between us. Otherwise, people are just going to be using each other randomly. And that'll be the case unless people can be honest and open and very specific with each other. And then we can admire those people. When I see people today that get along, they've got a great relationship, I look at two open, brave, honest people in today's age. Look at how compatible and friendly you are together. That's rare, and it's testament to both of you, to being so honest with each other. Most of us are hiding, trying to play it so safe and get a guaranteed low-level outcome. Whereas we need to take more calculated, honest risks. But first, we have to be honest with ourselves. Then those risks are more clear and are done more with our eyes open. We are trying to plan on our own and then close our eyes and thinking that that plan will work. It'll be a one-size-fits-all with everyone. It's not. Social interaction, and especially specific, compatible, romantic interaction is, I have to have learned all this stuff. I have to be a better person. And then when I'm actually in front of a person, that's the test. How I speak in real time and focus on them. They focus on me. We talk, we relate. When they say something, I don't ignore it. I speak up about it. We've both got the openness to sort of ask each other questions. Takes a bit of courage, but the payoff is immense. TAA commented under my video, "This frustrates me. This is what I appreciate about your content. It's always growing and getting better. Life should bring a level of empathy and compassion in such a way that a connection is made." Yes, this is what life's about. Feeling alive is making connections with the world and people around you. Not trying to fake simulacras behind screens and curating social profile, but essentially you're having relationships in your head. You're fictionalizing who you want, but you're not actually meeting real people and experiencing real things. It's equivalent to saying, thinking you can experience going to somewhere like India, a vacation where you soak up the culture and you eat the food and you smell the smells and you see the colors and the sights and things. You do it from your screen and you watch as many YouTube videos as you can. You get a lot. You can build your map, but the only way you're going to experience it, the richness of it as a human being, with all your senses and all the tactility, is to use all those senses to embrace it. And it's the same with men and women. You can sort of do it defensively, one-dimensionally. The only way you're going to do it is to actually jump in and feel that with all your other senses. Life is only meaningful and feels alive when it's tactile, and we are not living tactile lives. TAA continues, "That's what our journey is all about. It's about becoming better so that we can help guide with humility and still be able to lead the way. We have to grow through things, not just go through them." Yeah, a lot of people just get blindly just pushing their way through things, but not sort of conversationally, empathically, tactilely, kind of, and letting lessons sort of embed and growing through them. We're pushing our way through things, thinking that we've experienced them, but we haven't. Continues, "If this isn't taking place in our life, especially 40s and up, you are probably selfish and doing something wrong." I agree. Well said. Jim S, under the same video, he says, "This totally describes one of my lifelong friends. It's become frustrating. I want to keep him close, but he's stuck. He's trapped. He's also filled with hubris. So it's hard for him to break through. Sadly, he's pushing me away. I really have been reflecting how much of this I can accept." Yeah, the hubris of women and the hubris of men, similarly online, and you go on dates now. All of this esoteric stuff that used to be fun clubhouse stuff, or you wouldn't really share. I'm seeing this R-pill language coming out everywhere, just everywhere. MWA Fracka 4 says, "Very well said. I've noticed recently that many men, just like women, refuse accountability and react very emotionally and aggressively when that's pointed out. Some people are the obstacle to their own happiness." Yep, Jay says, under my old video, Man Up for What? That's an older video. He said, we're not manning up because they are. That's a good point. Men aren't manning up because women are. When you look at relationships, even when you look at same gender relationships, there's usually a more masculine one and a more feminine one. There's always a compatible opposite there that get along, that fit together. Two of the same repel each other like two magnets repel each other. And it's so obvious, and everyone refuses it. We're trying to be the same, and we're wondering like why we can't get along with everyone in the world. We repel everybody. And the only person you can be with is yourself, because you're a magnet that's on its own. You're fine. But everyone is the same, repelling each other now. Matthew C says, if she doesn't soothe your soul, then she's bad for you. Yep. Cram5 says, you talk about the manosphere in the most concise way. My exposure to it can be summed up as a bunch of angry divorced men trying to sell others not so confident men some plan or book. They also come across as bullies to me. Yeah, a lot of them come across as bullies to me. Very barricaded, unfeeling men who kind of, they're never going to be hurt again, which I get. But what that produces is the thing I don't respect. Continues, finding confidence is important. Incorporating it more importantly is not losing yourself in the process. Yep. Healthy Quadrant says, I think the thing that is frustrating you may be a form of recovery which involves reflection and lots of rumination. This behavior is natural and healthy to a certain extent. I was listening to a researcher who studies occupational burnout in the medical field. He mentions that a day, a week, even a year may not be sufficient enough to recover from burnout. I believe burnout occurs every day for men who have walked into the dark valleys of marriage and divorce. Many of these men are still paying out large dividends to the exes in their lives. To make matters worse, all of our society dumps on them too and deems them bad for not maintaining the marriage when it wasn't even them who petitioned for divorce. As icing on the crap cake, their children will not speak to them and hate them because of the lies their mothers poisoned within them. Take it easy, human. Their stories need to be told far and wide for the world to hear, even if it is deaf to their cries. Yep. Like I said, though, look, I have compassion to a degree, but I don't like trying to pat dogs and having them bite me all the time. I'm not patting a barking dog or a snarling dog. Pro89 under the video says, how relatable is dating advice to you? He says, I use some of the techniques which the coaches teach, and I can say they work. In all of those cases, the girl left me though, when I started to show more of my real self, and I can tell you that hurts even more. Boffin actually replied to Pro89 and said, you make a good point that a lot of guys don't seem to think about. When they listen to PUAs, the techniques they teach are calibrated to certain types of women. In effect, they are indeed teaching you how to catch a fish, but never mention that it might not be the kind of fish you really want. Yes, the PUAs treat all women the same and all men, you know, the man suit you need to drop into is all the same. So they talk about men and women, but they don't kind of specifically talk about you. What kind of man are you? And what kind of woman suits you? Boffin continues, and contrary to what PUA coaches will tell you, all fish are not the same. Yes, neither are you. All fishermen aren't the same either. I commented, I responded to Boffin and said exactly, both are putting on shows for the job and then they move on in the PUA circles. If you need the job to get something, then you'll leave. If you found a friend, well, that's another story. If you approach dating like it's this kind of business-like job interview, like a lot of the PUAs, you know, make money, spin plates, diversify your investments, It's not like a real friendly, intimate life that you can relax in. It's all business. Whereas if you found a friend, that's a very, very different lifestyle. Look, I get the laws are involved, which is the unfortunate thing, but you know. The Chaz83 under the same video, how relatable is dating advice to you? He says, I never stray from telling the truth as I see it or asking questions. For example, the other day I was at the park and talked with a woman about society. Somehow it got to dating and she mentions men should attend those classes to understand how to act and behave in front of women. When I asked, so what about the women? Where are their classes to learn how to act and change and improve around men? Every problem in a woman's life isn't a man's fault, is it? She told me I was being negative and hateful. I get this a lot whenever I ask direct questions. I never shy away. Human, you're truly the definition of awesome truth. Oh, thank you. Yeah, this is the thing. Ask for reciprocity. Ask for fairness, and then you'll see what the person's like. It's just, that's why guys love philosophy. Philosophy is consistent. Philosophy is fair. Philosophy balances the scale. It's rational. So whatever women are complaining about, if it's something men need to do, there's usually an equivalent that women think is insulting to ask them to do. That'll tell you a lot about how fair this person is, what life would be like with her. Is she a Miss Right, or is she a Miss Always Right? Italian Stallion says, you can look at motorcycle crash statistics and be scared to ever ride a bike, or you can choose to avoid a lot of the risk factors. For example, you can have a valid license. You can take the MSF course. You can avoid overpowered bikes. You can wear full gear more often. You do not have control over everything, but you have more control than the statistics would have you believe. Yes. If you can objectively see the differences in you compared to the normie walking around the street, the average person out there, the average guy my age, I can see where the large differences between me and them are. And it's not just physical, it's lifestyle, it's their routines. And so also it goes into how I live my life, how I choose to live my life, the boundaries I've created, the hygiene with which I kind of steer my life. So yeah, the statistics actually relate to the lowest level of the average person in the middle of the bell curve. Now, I'm not saying I'm smarter or better than anyone, but I'm much more specific than the average guy who drinks beer, watches football, mows the lawn, has 2 or 3 kids, and he's sleepwalking through life with a roommate. And he doesn't really find philosophy that interesting, or actually thinks it's snobbish and not important. Just realize where you're different, how you're different, and what you need in your life. Lee N says, I've had this nagging sensation for a while that we are being told to play the wrong game with the wrong rules. Yes, we're told to play the wrong game with the wrong rules. No wonder we feel disconnected from our realities, not only in dating, but work and everything else. Yep. We are. We're constantly sold. Like, at least back in the day when religion was a cornerstone, it may have been a story, but it lubricated our lives so that we could live better, more cooperative lives with each other, and we could not just survive, but we could thrive with the cooperation of other people. Fairness, like the golden rule. I treat you fairly. Now we're told that the game has the rules flipped on its head. That the way forward in life is not to cooperate. That we don't need each other. That the way to feel abundance and pleasure in your life is to deny that pleasure from other people, is to not love other people. The way to love yourself is to reject and not love anything else but yourself. The way to love the world is to only Love yourself solipsistically and selfishly. The mind game that goes on today, for the more astute and philosophical person, it's frustrating, and we love reading between the lines and working it out for our own sake. But for the people that sleepwalk through life, watching football and drinking beer, and women who just go shopping, and the bimbos and the chads out there, they're very easily manipulated. And this script that they're being told that keeps butting their heads against the wall is just, they're not going to change because they have no self-reflection or self-curiosity. Elusive Man says, this alpha bro lifestyle is not for me anymore. I am content with what I have and who I am. The dating scene is for people looking for a partnership outcome. The question to be asked is, are you willing to give up your personal freedom, ownership of your destiny, to search for a compatible woman to be in a merge permanence with? Merge permanence. Can I guess you've also read Cerebus? You're a Dave Sim fan? Merge permanence. That's the only time I've actually heard that phrase. For those of you who are into comic books. Amuary D, to my video, my response to Tiffany says, most women will tell you that men are better friends to them than other women. Yeah, that's the common thing. You'll more commonly hear women say, I've got more guy friends because I find women catty and backstabby and it's very hard to get along with them, psychologically manipulative, all that kind of stuff. It's kind of rare. I never hear guys saying, like, I've only got female friends because I can't stand how untrustworthy, dishonest, psychologically manipulative, I can't get along with men. You never hear that. Melee N says, my view is for something to work for you as an individual, you need to resonate and believe in it. For example, I work in IT systems. I guarantee you it is not for at least 90% of the population, but I believe it works for me. Yes, bravo. You know what works for you. When you find something or someone you love, it also says a lot about your ability to believe your own judgment, to know what you love, that you don't need to be told what to love, like so many people today. Like guys looking to these Chad PUA channels, they're being told how to love because they don't trust their own judgment. Women are being told what to shop. They're always being told what's fashionable. They can't actually say, I like this and I don't need to be told. It's kind of like, no, this is in trend this season. This is fashionable. And men are starting to act like women today. Yanez Art says, statistics are for the statistic and passive populace. Exceptions to that and true responsibility are for dynamic individuals. I believe in making my own luck. Yes, I'm with you, Yanez. Mr. Highway says under my video, how relatable is dating advice to you? He says, I totally agree. I've been feeling for a while that men are allowing online safe spaces to cripple them. It's becoming an excuse to not do the work of becoming an individual. They've left one plantation for another. Yeah. Most of the population wants to be led. There's very few people that are true leaders, and there are very few people who just want to lead themselves. Like, I don't want to really lead anyone. I really want to lead myself. I might be some sort of secondary leader in the way that I can sort of offer something to someone, like information, like I've helped them lead their life through ways in which I've led my own life through what I've said, if that makes sense. So by my videos, it can help you lead your life in your way because you chew on what I've said. So in that way, I'm some sort of quasi metaphysical leader in a secondary sense. But yeah, there were some great comments on the last few videos, and my videos this week, I haven't had time to kind of read those. As I said, I'll be away on vacation with the family. And it's important because, you know, my family's older. My mum's fairly old now, and you just don't know how many times you're going to be able to do this. So it's a big yes to sort of And it's a good way of knowing what's important in your life. Treat the people in your life well. Give the time and attention to those people that deserve it. Don't take them for granted. I love you guys, but this opportunity to be with my family, all of us together for 3.5 days, it may be something that never happens again. But like I said, I wanted to give you some sort of non-live stream, because I love to be consistent. You know, I love my routines. It would irritate me. I wouldn't enjoy my holiday as much if I wouldn't give to my channel and to you guys, because you guys are important as well, and so is my channel. Or let's just look at it this way. This thing that I put out on YouTube, the thing that I do that gives me pleasure, and that consequently I hope gives a lot of you guys pleasure and information and just at least entertainment. It's part of me. What's the word? It's part of me being a good caretaker of my life and not getting too lazy and not getting too complacent. So let's see how this goes down. So as always, guys, like, subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything. For you guys that donate to my channel and say thank you, whether it's on YouTube, on Patreon, or PayPal, I really appreciate it. All of it goes back into production and equipment and things for my channel and to keep this thing going. And I will see you in the coming week for some more videos and a live stream next week. I'll see you then, where you can actually comment and I can answer your comments. So have a great week, guys, and I will see you very soon. Comment in the comment section, and I'll catch you later. Bye.